Well, hello everybody. Welcome to Live with Roger and Pascal. This is a bonus to our audio and video magazine, Two Geeks and a Marketing Podcast. And I'm joined by my co-host, AI and digital marketing speaker, trainer and advisor, and founder of the Film Marketing Academy, Monsieur Pascal Fintoni.
Thank you very much. You know the voice you've just heard from Mr. Roger Edwards, marketing speaker, consultant, and the author of Cats, Mats, and Marketing Plans.
So Pascal, what are we doing here? What are we doing here? This is new. This is new. And it's live.
We've been threatening to do this for a while, and we have been getting some lovely feedback on our audio and video magazine, as you mentioned. We're getting questions, but you're not busy. We're out and about, hosting conferences, facilitating masterclasses and so on, and we get lots of practical questions. And we wanted to find a way to share the answers that we give to just a handful of people to a much wider audience. So this is a bonus episode, but not a one-off. This will be a series.
Yeah, this is going to be we're going to alternate, aren't we? We're going to still have our Two Geeks and a Marketing Podcast full episode once a month, and that usually comes in at about an hour with the usual host of content spotlights, film marketing, in the news, marketing tech and apps, and this week in history. And then 2 weeks later, we'll do a live show like this. And as you say, we're going to be focusing more on answering the questions that people have about marketing. We want to keep it quite light-hearted, quite relaxed, and I'm definitely going to be sipping my coffee as we talk today, Pascal. And we would like to invite anybody who's watching to fire questions in and to comment as we chat live.
Yes, so whether you're joining us live or on replay, we have 3 segments for you because we want to be organized and keep within the half-hour mark. So we're going to begin with a marketing made simple, which I just can't wait. We're going to be sharing advice and updates on really how you can reconnect with the true purpose of marketing. Then we're going to have Speaker's Corner, and this came about really because you and I being asked about I have this ambition to become a public speaker after seeing you, Roger, or seeing you, Pascal. And can you give me some advice? So we want to kind of break it up a bit and go through the journey from start to finish of how you can add public speaking to your marketing and personal branding. And we'll finish, and this is our selection. I'm sure our viewers and listeners will understand, Film Marketing Revisited.
Yeah, I mean, film marketing is one of my favorite features of the full Two Geeks and a Marketing Podcast format. And you and I, we just love films, and it doesn't matter whether those films are science fiction or fantasy or comedy or musicals or James Bond films. We love films, but we also like looking at the marketing campaigns that go with those films. And as we've done over 120 episodes of Two Geeks and a Marketing Podcast, we have reviewed 120 marketing campaigns for 120 films. So we've got quite a lot that we can just dip back into. And sometimes you can just get those moments of inspiration, can't you, from having a look at the marketing campaigns from films. And hopefully it'll give you, watching this or listening to this, ideas as to how you can use those techniques and those ideas to boost your own marketing campaigns.
And you can also use those as examples in the office. So if you're having a conversation with your colleagues and you're trying to put an argument forward for a particular course of action, using the example of one of the most entrepreneurial industry in the world, film industry, can just sometimes give you that extra bit of a conviction, but also people can relate to film. They understand how hard it is to market a film. They understand the competition. So much so that, in fact, as you mentioned in the introduction, you and I and our good friend Natalie have kind of captured all that kind of learning and experience into a program called the Film Marketing Academy, which is lovely.
Yeah. So shall we move on to our first segment, Pascal? And as you said before, it's called Marketing Made Simple.
Thank you, Roger. So this was inspired by your selection in the Content Spotlight or the Audio Video Magazine. You selected this article from Mark Ritson, Product is the P all marketers should strive to influence. And you really got me thinking since then about what has happened over time where marketers maybe have become so busy that somehow they don't have time to dedicate to the product of the marketing mix, or sometimes the decisions be taken off them, and the product kind of management of sort has been given to a different team altogether. And I just wanted to go back and explore that with you in terms of what's happened and what can we do about it.
Yeah, I think it's really important just to dwell upon the reasoning behind this. Now, I think personally that today, when people talk about marketing, and I include people who are marketers within this, marketing is almost now synonymous with just advertising or just promotion. But if you look back throughout the history of marketing, marketing has always been a much wider discipline. Marketing includes strategic goals, it includes understanding the needs of customers. It also includes setting goals for your marketing campaigns. And it also looks at the product or the proposition that you're going to be asking your customers to buy. It also looks at the price that you're going to charge for that product or proposition. It looks at the place that you're going to sell that product or distribute that product. And of course, it does include promotion. And those four things that I've just mentioned, the product, the price, the place, and the promotion, are historically known as the 4 Ps of marketing. Now, when I started as a marketeer, crikey, it's 30 odd years ago now, marketing people were responsible for all of those Ps. So when I started as a marketing person, it was my responsibility to develop the product, set the price, arrange for it to be distributed, and to promote it. But I think that today, for whatever reason, whether marketers have lost the skills or whether other parts of the organization have just been more challenging and have sort of grabbed hold of some of the discipline, it tends to be the fact that marketing people just do the promotion. They're not involved with the product development. They're not involved with the setting of the price. They're not involved with the distribution. They're just involved with the promotion. And if they're not sitting on on the board in the C-suite, it's often the fact that they're not involved in the strategic marketing decisions either. And I think that's a big shame. Now, we have banged on quite a lot on Two Geeks and a Marketing podcast about how we should try to strive to be involved in all of those functions. But if we really genuinely have reached the stage where marketing is just about promotion, I think we can make promotion much more um, successful and much more effective if we still embrace the full marketing discipline. So we might not be responsible for the product, we might not be responsible for the pricing, but we do need to understand how the product came about, how it was developed, and understand why the price is set at a specific point, understand the strategy. And that's really what we wanted to try and do today is, if you're a marketer and you're only focused on the promotional elements, how can you get a better understanding of the product within your organization to effectively make you a more competent and more successful promoter?
For me, the realization is that this was not the case in the past. So you really got me thinking about when I started as a young marketing officer in London working for this UK tour operator, and my boss was called the product and marketing director. Fascinating, isn't it? And then something has happened over time. And listen, I have some sympathy with the situation where even a marketer would say, "I'd love to do, what you're talking about, Roger, but time is against me." I mean, only today, this morning, I had an email from one of my clients saying, "I'm in charge of the promotional side, of marketing, and I've just been given the role of looking after the AI policy and governance and so on. I'm not going to have time to do it." And we're talking about it. So I think generally, if you are the managing director and you're running a team where the promotion is split away from product, split away from price, think about how you could be the instigator for collaboration. That's going to be the starting point. If you are a small business entrepreneur, and you are multitasking. And for me, in a way, Roger, the solution is the same, which is regular informal checkpoints supported by formal sit down workshops is going to be the formula to break through this, because the risk, as you pointed out, is this kind of silos, and nobody plans to go to work and work in a silo, but that's what happens with the busy lives that we all have. But the risk is that you go ahead in product design or service design for that matter without really understanding the needs of the customer. You don't have somebody to be the custodian or the champion of the customer needs and wants because they are in a kind of customer facing. And conversely, if you don't have access to just the journey of that product, you're missing out on so many key messages, and you may end up with that kind of what we see all the time now, pretty uninspiring key message kind of mantra out there. And for me, the solution is simple, but it has to be about people who are willing to participate more.
Yeah, and I do find it difficult to get my head around this sometimes because I've always been involved in the whole marketing mix. I've always been involved in product development and the pricing, etc. To suddenly just be focused entirely on the promotion does feel quite alien to me. To be handed a product by a product development silo over here and be told go and promote this product. I'd be immediately thinking, well, who is the customer? Why did we develop this product? What is the customer need that this product is meeting? And how is this product better or preferably different to all the other products that our competitors are putting out there or alternatives? So yeah, I do think, and it might be difficult depending upon the size of the business you work for or the politics of the organization to actually knock on the door of the product team, knock on the door of the product development department and say, look, if we're going to promote this, we need to understand how you got to where, how you got to this product and this version so that we can understand the needs of the customer so that we can promote it to the best of our ability and also successfully for the company.
And for me, just to close on that, there is a give and take because when you work as part of marketing and you're in charge of promotion, shall we say, the access to customer insights, to behavioral insights, to the kind of data, even anecdotes and comments and feedback on social media, all that stuff is so vastly important because that will inform almost a product and a service that you may not think of. Customers really can be a source of inspiration. So your article was, as you can tell, really got me thinking about what is happening, the evolution of the marketing function, but also the risk and this idea of ending up promoting a product that people have not asked for. Do you know what I mean? Promoting a service that nobody's asked for is ultimately the risk. And conversely, by not spending enough time, you're missing out on a competitive advantage. So can we find a way to make it work better for you?
Yeah, and people shouldn't be afraid to have this collaboration. I mean, I suppose you do run the risk of creating internal stress. The product people say, "We develop the products. We just tell you what to do, marketers. Just you go away and promote it." I mean, that's not a healthy scenario at all. We want to be collaborative. We want to work together so that we understand why this product was developed, who the customer is, what customer need are we meeting, so that the promotions absolutely reflect that. And we all want the business to succeed. We all want the product to sell. We all want to see how much it can contribute to the bottom line. So I think the collaboration is essential. And I guess just to sort of bring this section of Marketing Made Simple to a close, if you are a marketer and you are only responsible for the promotion, I think you owe it to yourself and to your success to genuinely go and try and understand the other parts of the marketing mix, even if you aren't responsible for them. Find out about the product, immerse yourself in how it was developed so that you can be the most successful promotional marketer you can be.
Thank you very much.
Shall we move on to our next segment, Pascal? And this one is all about public speaking. So, Pascal, both of us are public speakers. We do a lot of work on stages. We do a lot of workshops. We do a lot of seminars. We do quite a few online webinars. In fact, we probably do more online stuff now since the pandemic than we did before the pandemic. And a lot of people are often asking questions about how did you get started as a speaker? Do you get paid? Do you do it for free? The business of speaking. We get a lot of questions about that, but people also ask us questions about, how do I put together a strong presentation? Should I use segments? What should my introduction be? How many slides should I use? Should I script it? So we thought that this part of the show, again, would be quite short, quite snappy, but we're effectively answering questions that people have been giving us about the business of speaking. So where do you want to start with today?
I'll start with the question that was asked by a customer only last week. I'm thinking about becoming a big speaker inspired by what you've done, which is very flattering. Where do I begin? Any lessons you are happy to share? And I thought, you know what? I did share some advice, but I said this is exactly the kind of conversation I want to be having with Roger, but also to ask you, where did you begin? How did it, mine was an accident, in terms of public speaking, but how did you begin your public speaking career?
Well, it's funny. I mean, I was working in big corporate, and um, when I was in the marketing team, fortunately, we did have that very strong relationship with the sales team, and I was often invited out with the sales force to do presentations to our customers. And I was working in the financial services industry at the time, so we were doing presentations to financial advisors. So I remember being sent on a course really quite early in my career, and I remember them videoing us doing the practice speeches. And in those days, the cameras were gigantic, with VHS cassettes plugged into them, completely different to the way it is now. And I did so many presentations for the company, and eventually I started getting asked to speak at external conferences as well. And when I eventually left big corporate about 10 years ago, I still kept getting the invites to do conferences, and effectively that's how it started. But if to boil that experience down, I guess the best way to do it is to get out there and start talking to people, whether it's local events, or if you're working for a company, get out and start talking about your product. The best way to become a speaker is to speak, I guess.
No, very, very true. I mean, I will one day regale our audience with my story of my accidental beginning as public speaker. But very, very quickly, I was invited to speak at an event. I misunderstood. I thought it was going to be a small group in a small hotel room, and it was a full-blown conference where I had makeup on, microphone was on, and so on. And just before me on stage was Michael Portillo, a British politician and now travel journalist. And it was the most terrifying experience in my life. But then I realized, hang on, after I'd survived it, I think I can do this. But like you, then you start again from the very beginning. So my advice at the time was to say, well, pick something that you're passionate about. Pick something that you're passionate about and mix it with business issues, because that's going to give you something very unique to start with. And like you, Roger, I say, and start with people in the office. Literally say, I've got this news I want to share with you. I've got this update. I've got this new way of thinking about something I want to share with you. And literally to speak to 4 people to begin with in a room, and then contact a local business club and speak to 10 people, and then contact the regional association, speak to 20. And literally it's that way you gradually grow into the role by practicing with small group, get some feedback and so on. But for me, what has been the differentiating factor, and I love listening to you speak because your perspective is unique, your history is unique, your anecdotes as well is unique. And that's what people are looking for with a speaker. Don't just repeat the news from your industry or repeat the same advice. What is your unique perspective? So as well as growing to the size of the audience, I would say learn to record anecdotes, learn to tell those stories to supplement what you do, and then you kind of build on that, and then the decision is yours. Is it for to grow the business from a brand point of view? It's just for you as an additional skill to have, because ultimately speaking across all manner of life circumstances are very, very important. But my gambit was find the passion and mix it with the profession. And I think that's going to be more helpful than trying to emulate others to begin with.
Yeah, no, I agree, and I love the idea of creating a bank of anecdotes and a bank of stories. That's something that I've always done, and another thing that I think is has worked for me is pop culture. I always love to cross-reference things that I've seen either on TV in TV series or films. Harkening back to our film marketing segments as well, because you can often tap into the sort of feelings from those films or from those TV series and turn them into a business message. Again, I can always remember in the financial services industry, there was a particular episode of Coronation Street where one of the characters died. And for a while, I was out there sort of using that example of that character in Coronation Street dying as a sales idea, almost to try and get people to understand the need for life insurance. It sounds a bit corny when I actually explain it now, but people resonate. In those days, 20 million people were watching Coronation Street, so it was a very powerful thing to tap into. Nowadays, you'd probably have to tap into more of the TikTok vibe, or maybe into Netflix or other streaming platforms. But the ideas are there, and they're definitely worth banking. So, what we'd love you to do for future episodes of Roger and Pascal Live is to fire us your questions about public speaking, and we will be delighted to discuss and answer those questions here on the live stream. But Pascal, I think now we'll move on to our film marketing revisited, and this is going to be very exciting, I think. So, Pascal, what are we going to do in this section of the show? It's obviously Film Marketing Revisited, which means we're going to go back to a film that we've already reviewed on Two Geeks and a Marketing podcast. But we're really going to home in, aren't we, on some of the marketing aspects?
We are. And listen, you mentioned it in the intro, we know a bank of more than 110 and 20 film marketing campaigns. And I was thinking, I'm worried about forgetting them, to be honest with you, Roger. So I'm thinking not only this is going to be helpful to our viewers and listeners, but I want to reconnect with what we've done. And I thought symbolically, since we've been producing Two Geeks and Marketing podcasts for over 4 years now, we should go back to where it all began. And what we did at the time, if you recall, we recorded 3 episodes almost back to back and published them at the same time, because that was the process you went through for podcast marketing. And amongst the top 3, we went for the Lord of the Rings trilogy.
Indeed. And obviously, those films are over 20 years old now. But they are evergreen films, aren't they? And I think you watched the 3 Lord of the Rings films annually, and in fact, you're probably due to watch them again, I would think.
Well, they came out at Christmas, if you recall. So the first one, Fellowship of the Ring, came out in Christmas 2001, and then every year we had that appointment we made with the the world of Middle Earth, and I repeat the same now. So every Christmas I've got my Blu-ray box set, and over one weekend I watch all of them. And we then went into looking at the film marketing techniques that were deployed in 2000. Now, it's hard sometimes to remember the world in the year 2000, and particularly the internet in the year 2000. And we discovered that there was some really clever tactics and quite entrepreneurial tactics in nature that have now become a given when you market a film. So, for example, I pick one, is Peter Jackson was releasing video diaries on YouTube, the early version of vlogging. Now, people will be thinking, that's not impressive. That's not impressive today, but in 2000, to have the behind-the-scenes stuff from the director himself, very comfortable with kind of walking around in the rain sometime or in the hills of New Zealand. And that build-up of anticipation through the video diaries was really, really clever at the time.
Yeah, and what I love about this is the fact that these films had so many different characters across all 3 of the films, and that lent the marketing the ability to focus in on the characters. So they had individual posters for some of the characters, they had individual biographies on the website. so you can really tap into that. And what I love about film marketing is the lessons that you can learn from films to market your own businesses. So yes, of course, you're going to be doing video diaries now for your, maybe, talking about products we were talking about earlier, how you develop this product, who it's for. You can build some video around that. If you've got different personalities within your business, why not have a spotlight on them in the same way as there's a spotlight on Aragorn or whatever it is in the film? Have a spotlight on the individual characters. I think you can really tap into some of the innovations from these films. Even 20-year-old films, you can still find the inspiration for your own campaigns.
That was something that really impressed us at the time, although we shouldn't have, because it is actually a marketing strategy that you and I would recommend, is the breaking down of audiences into different groups. And it was evident to us when we looked at the film marketing campaign, there was a high level of clarity between three different audiences. Those who had read the book and couldn't wait to go there and experience it as a live feature. Those who had not read the book but loved fantasy all the same, and those who knew nothing whatsoever about Lord of the Rings. And their marketing, the breakdown and the way in which they used different techniques was so evident that it was a case study in its own right.
Yeah, and again, that is so important, and it points back to what we were saying before about product and understanding your customers. As a marketer, the more you understand your target audience, the more effective you can create. More effective you can be at creating promotions that absolutely talk to those individual customers. So yeah, if you do have different cohorts of customers, you will have to come up with different messages for those different cohorts. But it's the understanding, and I think that what I do like about the marketing that went with Lord of the Rings is they genuinely understood the customers, the viewers, and the marketing tapped into that. And we have reviewed films out of the 100 or so that we've done for Two Geeks in the Marketing podcast, where it's quite obvious that they didn't understand their customers, and you could see that in the marketing. But I think Lord of the Rings, the trilogy specifically, displays a fabulous understanding of the target audience.
If you go back again, this was 20 years ago now, getting already into the habit of using the official platforms like a website reviewing films from magazines. You had, of course, the Lord of the Rings.net, which is a fan-based, but the hub. They did this thing where they were flying over bloggers and high-profile movie critiques to New Zealand. The early days of tapping into the influencer, which is a ghastly term, as I've shared many a time on Two Geeks and Martin podcast. But this idea of where are the hubs of activities? Where will the fan go to online and beyond to pay attention to what has to be said? And one thing they were doing very cleverly is, depending who they were talking to, they were giving bits of the marketing pack, so nobody got the full story. So as a fan, you had to go through two different websites and different portals, as they were called then, to really have access to all the photographies of the characters, to have access to all the landscapes and more, which I thought was very clever again.
Yeah, again, it's creating that anticipation, isn't it? And again, understanding the target audience of your customers. And interestingly enough, we haven't really got time to talk about the Amazon TV series of The Rings of Power, which is obviously 20 years on. It's a variation on the same world and some of the same characters, but you can see similarities in the way that they've done it with the character studies and with the websites, etc. So always worth having a look at some of these films from the past. And even if you think, well, that was 20 years ago, or we've reviewed films going back to 1957. I think 1957 was one of the earliest films we reviewed, but you can still learn and be inspired by the marketing campaigns for those films of the past. So Pascal, there we have it, our first live with Roger and Pascal, our sort of complimentary companion show to Two Geeks in a Marketing podcast. Any thoughts to before we close, Pascal? Obviously, we'd like people to send us questions. We'd like people to interact and give us ideas, and let us know the films that you want us to look back at. Let us know the questions you've got about speaking, and how can we help you to make marketing simple?
Absolutely. You can guide this bonus episode as much as Roger and I will do all the research and work on the production of our audio video magazine. This bonus series, it's yours.
And with that, I think we shall leave it there. So I was Roger Edwards, and he was Pascal Fintoni, and we'll see you next time.